What is up, Waffle Gang? I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and today we're covering some more r/am I the butthole. If you'd like to skip the initial waffle, timestamps are in the description and along the timeline below. But if you are new here, please consider hitting that like, that subscribe, and maybe that notification bell too, if you enjoy the content, of course. Now, a huge thank you yesterday. We did have some new members. We had Awesome Kitty Zombie, Drosera, and oh yes, I'm famous. Thank you so much for your support. I cannot tell you how much it really does mean to me. You change things for me every day, and I'm so appreciative of each and every one of you, and for everyone for taking the time out of your day to be here. And with that being said, let's crack on with today's stories. Much love, guys. Now, our first story comes from Imaginary Special 126. Am I the arsehole for being mad that my fiance reported my son's teacher? So my son has the teacher, Carrie. I think she teaches English and art, but only art for my son. My fiance thinks she has a thing for me. I just think she likes interacting with me because she studied in the same field as me before switching to education. So we have the interest in common and always have something to talk about, whereas with my fiance, she just has general small talk. Sometimes Carrie asks my son about me. Sounds sketchy when put as an isolated type of thing, but apparently she also does it to this girl Sue in my son's class, whose parents are chefs and a few other kids, so it's not a big deal. To me at least. The thing that supposedly pushed my fiance over the edge is that Carrie occasionally texts me. To understand this, you need to know that my son is great at art and draws comics, which are pretty funny and creative. Carrie picked this up and texts me links to competition and the sorts. Fiance knew about this but preferred it being sent on email, but my emails get flooded, so this is the easy method. Literally her messages will read, "Hi Clint, came across this for you," and I'd respond with a thanks. No inquiry on how my or her day was or any of that. She sent one of these messages on Christmas and my fiance lost it because it's inappropriate to be texting me in the first place, but even worse to do so on a holiday. I mean, she apologised in the message and the content was going time limited, so I get it, but to make my fiance feel better, I suggested she send these to my fiance. She understood and agreed, but my fiance decided to email the principal to formally complain about her behaviour. I'm not even mad, more like annoyed that she is making a big fuss out of this and risking an awkward environment for our son. I told her this and said she overreacted, but it seems I'm the arsehole to her for being mad at her. Am I the arsehole? Edit, my son is our son with my fiance. Apologies for the confusion. And I've sent my apologies both to the teacher and the principal on my wife's fiance's behalf, and made it clear to the principal that she was nothing but professional and an invested teacher. Principal said they understood, and Carrie also understood and promised to continue sending us information and links. Now, as some of you may know, I have quite a few teacher friends within family and friends too, that we talk about, stuff that goes on and things like that. And one of the boundaries, although, in an ideal world, this boundary wouldn't be there, but unfortunately it has to be because, people take things all sorts of ways, and this story is an example of that you can't have these types of relationships with parents. You can't have these casual things where you're texting each other from personal phone numbers. They need to be done through school phones and just done that way, really. It needs to be kept professional and above board. Otherwise, situations like this will happen. It has happened in schools that I've heard of, and I pretty much guarantee that head teacher will stop her from texting you like that, and it will be done through a school phone from now on, because it is unprofessional. However, I'm not wiping off what the fiance did do in this situation. She could have potentially cost that teacher her job. If we are looking at it just from the story's point of view, she's a fantastic teacher, going out of her way to supply her students with extra stuff. But I'm not sure if this is a difference in countries or in how teachers deal with their students between the UK, US, or wherever this is, right? If this was to happen in the UK, I pretty much guarantee from a school's point of view, texting parents from personal phones wouldn't be the best idea. But I'm sure we're going to get some teachers in the comments below, so let's head down there to see what we can find. And our first comment comes from Arise Something. Where are you? Because that makes the biggest difference. If you're in the United States, then she could be fired for this. A lot of schools, I would say, in the majority of them have a no fraternization clauses, and usually that include personal contact. There are some exceptions, like for example, people they knew prior to teaching and family members who are in the school system. You aren't either of those. They are supposed to email you from their designated school email, and they are supposed to call you from school landlines. She also shouldn't be asking you through her kid. That is a big no-no. Again, if a school has exception to this, then that's fine, but generally that's how it goes. If she gets in any kind of trouble for this, it won't be your fiance's fault. It will be the teacher's fault because she knows what rules she has to abide by and what boundaries she has not to cross. And Simply Sufficient says, everyone sucks here. I'm gonna be honest, if a teacher for our child was only texting my husband and asking about him and texting him on Christmas, I'd eventually start to feel uncomfortable about it. It is weird to me because I read it in another comment that this is your fiance's child also. But reading the post, I assumed it wasn't. It is strange, you'd think she'd message you both, not specifically you, and then asking about you. I'm gonna say that I think the teacher might be crossing a line, but I don't think it's at a point to report. I would have sent her an email stating it felt uncomfortable that if she wanted to address the parents, she needs to address them both. At the minimum, it feels disrespectful to his mum to only send you information that could help him. I don't get that, it takes 2 seconds to address you both through text. It feels intentional to send it only to you, and then also be asking your kid about you. An Awkward Yak says, I'm a teacher. In my district, no way would it be appropriate for me to be doing what that teacher is doing. An Apprehensive Set says, this sounds sketchy. I've never had a teacher text me frequently about my son, especially on Christmas. That was way inappropriate on so many levels, and your fiance was right to contact the school. Edit, change you're the arsehole to everyone sucks here. And Lucky the Punk says, I know I might get downvoted for this, but everyone sucks here. I do think that a teacher encouraging their students to pursue interests is great, and that teacher is probably a good teacher. However, I would never text or allow a parent to text me as a teacher. The only people who can text teachers here are students through a third-party app. Email is a better way to cover your ass and it keeps things more formal. I think your fiance overreacted and should be giving you the chance to stop things before reporting to principal. You're a bit of an arsehole for knowing that your fiance is uncomfortable that your teacher is texting and not stopping it earlier. A teacher needs to keep things professional with a parent and is on both of them to maintain that relationship. Now, I turn it to you guys. What if you was in this situation and the teacher was texting your partner? How would you feel about it? Would you feel uncomfortable and report it to a principal, or would you have it out with them? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Now our next story comes from Waste Section. Am I the arsehole for fixing my mother-in-law's dress so she could wear it to sister-in-law's wedding? I love my mother-in-law. She can be kind of annoying and difficult, more in a socially awkward way, but I chose to let it go. Don't sing, Mark, don't sing. Sister-in-law, my husband's brother's wife, is a bit more neurotic and controlling than me, and they clash. I find sister-in-law very uptight and I try to avoid her, which doesn't really work because she can't stand when someone doesn't like her. Anyway, they got married recently and mother-in-law wore lilac, not white, freaking lilac, but sister-in-law was upset because she thought it was too light. Mother-in-law and I were invited to get ready with a bridal party, and I heard sister-in-law complaining about the dress being too light for the mother of the groom. I told her that if it was white, I would be on her side, but mother-in-law looked fine. Well, sister-in-law accidentally spilled coffee all over the skirt. I didn't believe her for a moment that it was accidental. She even smirked when she apologised. Leading up to the wedding, she made comments about her mother-in-law should dress more like her mum, who is probably 10 to 15 years older than mother-in-law and at least 100 pounds heavier. I don't think mother-in-law has to look frumpy just because she has adult sons. Sister-in-law has a spare dress, probably because the coffee was premeditated, and she seemed to be proud of herself for trying to force mother-in-law into a frumpy and very cheap looking dress. Sister-in-law doesn't know this, but my mum was a seamstress and I worked for her all through high school. We had enough time before the wedding for me to run to a store and get supplies, so I took mother-in-law into the bathroom, cut the damaged part of the dress and fixed it. Sister-in-law was furious when we came out, so mother-in-law ended up wearing the too light colour, but now it is even shorter and probably too sexy for the mother of the groom, in sister-in-law's opinion. I didn't think anything of it, and we had a great night. Sister-in-law confronted me recently and said that was a bitchy thing to do. It put a dampener on her night, and I should have supported her because she was the bride and lilac is some grievous sin. Can I just say, I love the confidence in OP skills. You know, that's a big thing to do, to say, look, we're going to fix that dress right now, cut a section off and then replace it. That's amazing to do. And I'm not going to pretend to know about dresses being too light compared to the bride and all that sort of stuff. And I don't know what it means to people, but to me, it doesn't mean very much. And I'm not sure if I'm in the right place to comment here because I would just say not the arsehole anyway. And Bridezilla is a huge arsehole for chucking a cup of coffee over the dress because of that. You know, that sort of behaviour asks questions anyway. But for the initial post, I'm going to say not the arsehole. It might be controversial, and I'm sorry if it is, but as I said, I don't really know too much about it. But I did find the story interesting anyway. But Sin Count says not the arsehole. It's so nice to see a story with a nice mother-in-law. Your sister-in-law should count her blessings. We see enough stories of the mother-in-law in actual white. Lilac is really okay. And Crafty All the Time says, go sewing skills. As a crafter who sews a lot, you're a hero who shows what a pair of scissors, pins, needle and thread can do against the evils of bridezillas and spiteful people in general. Not the arsehole, put lilac fabric next to white fabric and there's no way they can be confused. And Mr. and Mrs. Atalia says, not the arsehole, and as a costumer, I love a tale of gorilla seamstressing in the wild. Lilac is such a common mother of dress colour. I'm impressed sister-in-law threw such a fit. She sounds like either there's something else going on that she couldn't or wouldn't say outright, something she should have phrased differently, but the rest of the wedding party are in dark colours. She'll stick out in the pictures like a sore thumb. Or she channeled a front from something else, mother of the groom dress. In any case, again, not the arsehole and well done. And Kai07 says, obviously not the arsehole. You helped someone who didn't do anything wrong and stuck it to the person who did. Whether the coffee spill was intentional or not, based on her behaviour afterwards points even more that it was planned. What you did was a nice thing and sister-in-law can get over herself. And just for a bit of balance, Buy More Plant says, everyone sucks here. Typically, the brides get approval of the mother's dresses. And if she thought it was too light, it'd be nice to respect that for one single day. She absolutely should not have spilled the coffee on your mother-in-law, but it's pretty clear neither of you like her very much, so I don't think it's a huge reach that you both may have been trying to antagonize her a little bit. Now, I turn this one to you guys. What do you think of the situation? Who do you think is the arsehole in it? Let me know in the comments below. Now, our next story is from Annoyed Dad. Am I the arsehole for pulling my kid from therapy because the therapist harassed us about our parenting? My kid started speech therapy about a year ago. When my wife first brought him for the eval, they asked if he used a pacifier, and we were stupidly honest about it. The therapist suggested we begin to wean him off the passy, but honestly, he likes it and we didn't see that it was necessary to stop it. He used to use it all day, but now it's only when he isn't at preschool because of the mask. I know there are potential dental issues, but we're not worried about that. Oh my god. Yesterday was the 4th time the therapist has mentioned the pacifier. I was annoyed the last time she mentioned it, but now I've had enough. My wife wasn't with me for therapy yesterday, but she is also annoyed that the pacifier is brought up so much. Maybe a bit dramatic, so I thought she wouldn't care that I addressed it. The therapist apologised but still had to plug in the importance of stopping the passy. I ended up asking to speak with a director to talk about seeking another therapist because we're just not a good fit. She was very understanding of my concerns, however, it was obvious she was taking her employee's side. She said she'd fit us with another therapist, however, she acted like whoever she gave us would also have some suggestions regarding the pacifier. It was obvious she agreed with them. So I basically withdrew my kid from therapy and told them I'd be bringing my business elsewhere. My wife is not happy and she wants me to go back there, apologise and re-enroll our son. I don't want to do that. We shouldn't have mentioned the passy, but they don't need to harp on it. Their job is to teach my kid how to say his sounds correctly, not micromanage our parenting. Am I wrong here? Oh god, yes you're wrong. Oh my word. Why'd you start with something like this? Because that dummy or pacifier is part of the problem. That's why the child needs speech therapy, or it could be absolutely linked to that problem. I mean, I had it when I was younger. I didn't want to give up my, we call them dummies in the UK. I didn't want to give up my dummy until I was about 5 years old, and you know, and it was at the risk of having to go to speech therapy. So I lost my dummy back then. Rip dummy, I miss ya. What is this guy, man? I don't get the logic. And what's with the line, I know there are potential dental issues, but we're not worried about that. Be fucking worried about it. Jesus, this is your child. This is the person you're meant to be caring for. Oh, why do I get so heated when there's children involved? I mean, it's just so careless. It doesn't take much to wean them off a dummy. Sure, it takes a little bit of working at, but when you get there, it will benefit them so much more with their speech, with their dental issues that could potentially, that will arise. Let's not beat about the bush. They will arise if he carries on sucking on this dummy for extended periods of time while his teeth are growing. They will pull them all sorts of directions. It's not harassment from the therapist. It's someone who's trying to teach you how to improve your kid's speech, man. Come on. Let's go to the comments, man. After stories like this, I just don't know where to go with them, you know. But Kitty Cat 1119 says, you're the arsehole. Speech therapist here. Pacifier use is linked to dental issues which can impede speech development. Important distinction though, speech versus language. Passive use doesn't cause a language disorder. She didn't harass you about it, she did her job. And the mirror's truth says, you're the arsehole, are you really this dense? She's not bringing it up to harass you over your lazy parenting, she's bringing it up because the pacifier is negatively affecting your child's speech. How is that too difficult to understand? Why would you pay someone to help your child if you're unwilling to do your part? If your child needs medication, do not give it to them, then complain to their doctor that they're not getting better. And Just Obsolete says, you're the arsehole, the pacifier is literally connected to the need for speech therapy. And Nebi Polaris says, you're the arsehole, why did you go to a professional to help your son if you're not going to accept the advice and recommendations given to you? No one is questioning your parenting, they're trying to give your kid the best life possible. You're stalling that because of your pride. And then there's just comment after comment about being pacifiers/dummies being part of the actual problem. I do like posts like this sometimes, it just completely winds me up for no reason when you know they're going to be the arsehole anyway. Oh, right. What do you guys think of this story? Let me know in the comments below. Now, our next story is from Throwaway Nannies. Am I the arsehole for telling my girlfriend her nannies were paid to raise her? Throwaway account because I don't want this linked to my Reddit account. I, 21 male, have a girlfriend named Anna, 21 female, who comes from a very rich family while I come from a middle class family, and while I did grow up with a lot of privileges, none of them were in the same level as hers. Anna grew up in a home where house staff, nannies and bodyguards were commonplace, and while she's a very nice and down to earth person, she's always had a very sheltered reality. For example, she's the kind of person who has a savings account, doesn't eat out every day and regularly donates to charity, but thinks that Apple products are perfect gifts for whenever she doesn't know what to get someone. A few days back, we were talking about holidays, and I asked her how she spent Mother's Day, since her mother died when she was a baby and her father never remarried. She just said that the only unusual thing she did on Mother's Day was that she visited her mum's grave in the morning with her father. I got confused by that, then I asked her how she spent the rest of the day, and she mentioned that growing up, she'd make cards and give them to the nannies, and they would spend the day playing and eating sweets. She asked her father to order. I just kind of laughed at that point and she asked me what I was laughing about. Then I told her, you know the nannies were just doing their jobs right. She got annoyed and told me that she knew, but they raised and loved and at least she could do was give them their due. And that is where I think I might be the arsehole. After she told me that, I joked, yeah, I bet the fat paycheck certainly helped them to love you. Because when I said that, she got quiet, grabbed her things and left. Since then, she's been cold towards me and told me she's rethinking our relationship, but I really think she's overreacting. What do you guys think? Am I the arsehole? And some of the comments on this one said it far better than I can, so we're starting with SJJS saying, you're the arsehole. As a nanny, wow. You're not just an arsehole, you're nasty. The paychecks pay my bills, doesn't make me love my charges any more or less. You literally told your girlfriend people were paid to love her. You owe her the biggest apology and months of begging for forgiveness. I also forgot to mention, there's a sort of slight edit update on this one as well. So we will cover that one after. And the mirror's truth says, you're the arsehole, how heartless can you be? Hear how it sounds. Haha, you're so stupid you think they'd love you. Your motherless child, only thing to love about you is your money. And then says, as someone who has worked in childcare sector, including being a nanny, unless you're pretty cold, you can't help but love and care about the kids we take care of. You need to love what you do and to be good at it. Really glad she's rethinking a relationship with you. You seem mean. And then there's an edit which relates to the update as well, which says, incels, the great unifier of men who don't want to be that gaping of an arsehole. And PR Mink says, you're the arsehole, a huge arsehole. She lost her mother when she was a baby and was raised by nannies from this young age. I imagine she's very attached to them, much like family, and I would guess they love her too. I honestly can't understand why this would bother you to the point where you felt the need to tear her down. It's probably because you're generally a judgmental arsehole. Who cares if she gifts Apple products? Apparently you do. Are you jealous? Your comments were cruel. You owe her an enormous apology and would be lucky if she decided to accept it. Then we're going to go to the updates. So edit. So after I posted my post and saw how it blew up with everyone ripping into me a new one, I was still skeptical, but then after I read some comments doing a breakdown of my post and pointing out how bad the shit I said, I started to think that maybe I was in the wrong. Maybe. Then I started receiving messages from many actual incels saying that they agree with me. After those messages, I saw that, yeah, I'm an arsehole. I went and apologised to my girlfriend, told her that I was being an ignorant, spiteful, malicious dumbass, quoted some of you guys lol, and that I want her to know that what I said was bullshit, and that even if she forgave me, she should know that I was just being a jerk for the heck of it, and that she did nothing wrong. She told me she knew that I was speaking out of my ass and forgave for what I did, but decided to dump me anyway. If things go well, we'll still be friends, if not at the least we're parting ways amicably. She'd be fine, said she'd go and spend time with her father back at home for a while. I decided to stay single until I sorted my own issues, and that's it. Believe it or not, but I read every single reply and saw how wrong I was about nannies and by default all care workers. I won't justify what I said because I think it would be a cheap attempt to erase that I was a grade A funt, but I will apologise anyway. Sorry for being an ignorant, dismissive, dehumanising, classistic jerk who dismissed the emotional aspect of these type of jobs. No one has to forgive, but I want to apologise anyway. Well, thank you for all your inputs and insults, I very much needed them. Now, I turn this one to you guys. What do you guys think of this situation? Let me know in the comments below. Now, once again, guys, thank you for being here today. I hope you did enjoy today's stories, and if you did, you know what to do. Hit that like, that subscribe, and maybe that notification bell too. And if you're feeling extra spicy, you can join the channel by clicking that join button down below for YouTube, or go into the link in the description for Patreon and joining up there. Thank you so much for your support, your time, and everything you give to me. It really does mean the world, and I will see you in the next one. Much love, guys.